Hello, once again. This is Democracy in Action, and the station is Third Eye Africa TV. We want to look at very many salient points as Nigeria will not forget and will always emphasize that Nigeria is moving towards 2027 elections. The people, the dramatic personnel, and the ingredients of democracy. What are they? We want to look at many of these things, and as usual, we always have a guest. And we have a guest who is really not new in the media circle because he was a federal lawmaker and he was also chairman of a sports committee at the House of Representatives, representing Zangon Kataf Jabak Federal Constituency. And he has, do I say moved? Yes, I should, yes. He was with PDP, then he moved to the APC. Today he is with the ADC. Politicians will always move, and they will tell us, yeah, the electorate said they should move, and so they obey. I also want to tell you that he has worked with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, talking of Dr. Tajuddin Abbas. At the point, he also worked with the former Deputy Speaker, Ahmed Wase. And of course, lawmakers, they also have associations. There was a time they had this Association of National Former Federal Legislators Forum. And currently, they have constituted what they call ADC Federal Legislators Forum, closely working with Rotimi Amechi and a host of others to ensure that Nigeria moves the way democracy so wants and the way many electorate, the politicians would want. My name is Ben Adam Shemang, and I want to welcome Honorable Godfrey Ali Gaiya. Welcome to Third Eye Africa TV.
My very big pleasure to be here.
After a long time.
I'm excited now.
We have met. Now, I can see that you've had reasons to move from PDP to APC, now with ADC. Why the movement?
Well, I caught my political teeth in the PDP. And as early as the year 2000, I was already a card-carrying member of the PDP. PDP then was a very organized political party, well endowed with regulations guiding everyone, highly principled leadership then, and things were working very, very much in accordance with the expectation of members and, of course, the leadership. And the PDP too gave me opportunities. I stood elections 3 times under the PDP, and 2 times I was elected at the national level. But soon afterwards, after 16 years of holding on to power, things began to go astray. Leadership was no longer accountable to the membership. Interest superseding the principle that established the party began to be questioned. And before we knew it, PDP ran into the normal malady of political parties where there were factions. And it took a particular state, Plateau, for example, where election in the platform of the PDP, even when candidates emerged, were elected, sworn in, they lost their seats as a result of 2 bodies in the name of the PDP presented candidates. One was accepted by the courts, one was rejected, and all those ones that were rejected by the faction they took elections from lost their seats. So that started the genesis of movements. People began to run away from a possible disaster, having won an election and not being sure of being sworn in. I, as a person, I moved from PDP then to the APC. And my reasons were as follows. For the first time, where I come from, the southern part of Kaduna, felt it was important as a people to identify with the party in power. And we felt years before 2023, the party in power then, the APC, were not so fair to the entirety of the zone. And most of the reasons given then were that we were not part and parcel of what delivered power to whoever that was in charge. So we felt now to begin to reap the dividends of democracy and to fully participate in governance so that our people too can key in to whatever comes from the center through the state to the local government. We too must benefit. That's why most of us joined the APC. I joined the APC in 2023. Before then, I was still in PDP when I was given an appointment by the present speaker, the Right Honorable Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas, found me worthy to appoint me as an advisor political for the Northwest. And my position became at conflict with my party membership. I thought my speaker, my principal being of the APC, and me advising on political matters, it was going to be very, very strange for me to attend APC meetings with my speaker and then carrying the card of the PDP. On my own, without pressure from him, I decided that, well, my principal cannot be in A and I will be in B. And the loyalty demands that you gel together.
But Rotimi Amechi is doing it. He's PDP and also working for APC.
That is wicked. But he has a different agenda. But I felt too that working closely in the capacity given to me as a political advisor for the entirety of the Northwest. And then, out of 7 states of the Northwest, only one was in the PDP. So, advising my boss, 6 out of 7 with him, and I, 1 out of 7 with myself. I didn't feel it was good for loyalty and also for promoting the office he found me worthy to be given. And of course, after 3 years, I also learned, and I saw too, that the APC that I thought was supposed to carry everybody along also became a party that was not inclusive, a party that had interests of some few, and if you found yourself outside the few, of course, you were never considered. For my 3 years, even with the office I was holding, I was never found worthy to be consulted, even in my state, into the caucus of the party, into the decision of the party, talk less of how the party runs. And having gone from onset as a PDP man who was so used to law and order, I felt it was difficult for me to survive into the party. And thank God, the ADC came on board.
So you are now with ADC?
I'm with the ADC because I see that they bear some similarity with my old order, that is the PDP, where things appear to work according to laid down principles and laid down guidelines.
So, what really is that attraction in ADC? Because now that you've tested 2 different meals, PDP, APC, what's now the attraction? What makes APC thick and ADC thick?
Believe you me, the APC of today, like to us before, is a party that to me will not take Nigeria forward. It's a party whose leadership has brought a lot of hardship to the people of Nigeria. And from the way and from the body language, you will see that they have no intention in the next future or in the near future to do things differently. Where members are defranchised from taking decisions, where members are selected to occupy offices instead of lying elections, where members are not even aware of what next will come, makes it difficult for people like us that are democratic by nature to keep pretending that we are party loyalists, while in actual fact, we find ourselves isolated and sidelined.
So, Honorable Godfrey Ali Gaiya, are you gunning for any post? Are you contesting for anything?
Yeah, certainly in politics there are always 2 things. You work for the victory of your party so that at the end of the victory, something else is given to you to contribute your quota and also to help where you come from. in any case, Nigeria being a federal system has provision for federal character, so much that you are supposed to expect that if having worked and we win, something will be given to you to take to your constituency. So I thought going to ADC will provide me a better platform, not just to work for the party, but in the same process, work for also myself. Because the Southern Kaduna Senatorial Zone has had about 5 different senators to date. Lucky enough, all came in through PDP. Well, the incumbent, they come too to APC. So I felt, having seen it all, having been in the 6th and the 7th Assembly in the House of Reps, having worked with principal officers of the National Assembly, I thought, and I think, I still believe, that I have still enough to offer the very good people of Southern Kaduna and move up a bit to contest for the seat of the senatorial zone of Southern Kaduna.
So you are an aspirant?
Very much so, an aspirant, senatorial aspirant, ADC Southern Kaduna.
All right. Okay, so now that it is so, at the point you hearing of the Electoral Act, talking of consensus, talking of direct primaries, from the feelers we're seeing, Lagos, the governor there has come out to say, oh, the deputy is the candidate. If you go to Nasarawa State here, what you hear is the governor there, the governor Sule, is there saying, look, Senator Aliu Wadada is the candidate. Now, are these impositions or these are consensus? Because you can see former IG of Nasarawa State, Mohammed, is contesting that. He is an aspirant and there was no time, nowhere that they sat and agreed on Wadada. So let's get your comments on this.
What is happening in the APC is not a consensus. It's anointing by the powers that be. And the powers that be have completely neglected the people. So much that the governor has the sole prerogative now to nominating, because it's no longer open for people to decide who becomes anything from House of Assembly to the senatorial position. The same thing is happening at the federal level, that the federal government will decide everything that happens. Even when you talk about consensus, consensus does not mean one man sitting in the comfort of his bedroom, writing lists and making the list the wish or the will of the people. That cannot be said to be democracy. Democracy is when people are involved for the people and everybody has a say. At the end, the majority have their way. In this so-called APC's primaries, the people are not having their way. And partly part of the reason why I had to take my exit was that I saw it coming. The moment they passed the Electoral Act, I knew it is an anarchy for sidelining so many who the people may have the love for, who the people may wish to work for them or represent them. And I saw it coming that will never happen in the APC because they don't open their doors. There's no inclusivity. So at the end of the day, it is what the leaders want that will come to pass without consultation with the people that matter at the grassroots.
Well, but if you also look at the Electoral Act itself, the same where there are aspirants, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they attempted a consensus, it didn't work because some people disagreed. Or if they agreed, then there has to be something written, signed, so to speak, you know. But are you ready, for example, when you have too many of them and some will say no consensus? Yes, there's consensus. Are you ready to sign those papers?
That's why most of the governors are already taking their favored candidates to get Mr. President's endorsement and blessing, so that it reduces the boldness of a disadvantaged aspirant to complain. You see, this is a country where people, even when they know they have rights, even when they can express their rights and disagree, are still cowed. They're still made to accept, even when they're not totally in agreement. And that should be discouraged, because it is an anarchy that we are foreseeing, and if we don't handle it properly with maturity, then it will be a big problem. I blame the designers of even the Electoral Act ab initio. They should have seen through the interests of the executive who brought the proposal. Most of my colleagues, former colleagues, we are not very happy with what they did. Because as far as I'm concerned, there has not been a very untidy Electoral Act amendment like the one of 2026-27. It's so porous that even when the elections are over, the Act allows further litigation. So much at the end of everything, you can never tell who eventually will become. If it is not fear of the wavy nature of the Act, you couldn't have been putting 135 billion for after-election litigations. It has never happened in this country that before an election you're already anticipating that there'll be a lot of litigations before the winner is sworn in. So I think basically there's something that's wrong with the Electoral Act, and whatever they try to do now is just to wish that the eventual doom does not come to pass.
If you also look at the National Assembly, when bills were coming from either the executive or, there's going to be this tinkering with the Electoral Act. And the National Assembly always say, whatever comes passes easily. And that's why it was passed. So today, when people talk of you're going to get automatic ticket if you cross over to APC, do you see some cracks somewhere happening? In all the parties, really.
For the APC, it's even going to be worse. We are expecting that after the primaries in court of the APC, there will be a lot of reactions from those who genuinely felt they should have won a free and fair primaries, if at all conducted. What I'm expecting? There will be a mass movement from APC to other parties.
And
that's why the APC is afraid to allowing other parties to fully exercise their powers under INEC. The push to create unnecessary confusion in opposition parties is deliberate, so that no platform is made available for those who may be embittered by the fallout of the primaries in APC to find bearing elsewhere. So these are the areas that we, true Democrats, are really fighting for. It's not that we hate anybody. It's not that we don't like anybody. But for God's sake, in a multi-plural country like Nigeria, in a country that practices multi-party systems, you must allow opposition duly reserved by INEC to function and not be tinkered with or tampered with like it's going on. It is so bad that, as I talk to you today, no party outside the APC is sure that they'll be clear to stand election in 2027. And we can't have it this way.
Well, at least the court is here, just by our side here. So, don't you have confidence in the judiciary that has reserved judgment that will come any moment from now?
We are very afraid.
Why?
Because any environment that does not allow a level playing field for operation, then the operators have every reason to compromise. The enable environment for our judges to work free and fair is lacking. There are arm twisting tactics we hear of every day. There are monetary inducement and enticement to judges. We hear about it every day. So if a judge cannot be bought by Naira, then they go about the records and use so many other things to make life uncomfortable for him. Most of those judges are in their 70s. Who wants to start suffering at this age? Who wants to go to cell or whatever in the name of being honest and truthful? At the end of the day, even those that you have been honest and truthful for will say, well, you were foolish. So we are advocating day and night. We're talking loud and clear that despite the pressure, the judges should know that Nigerians expect nothing less. After God, the next person is the judge. who should tell the guilty, you're guilty, and the righteous take a bow and go. But if the judges that we have all this hope upon will not give us simple justice, where the society is entangled with fear, then we may never have it easy. So we are pleading with them that despite the pressure, they should rise above board and know that after the athlete thing, there is God in heaven that we must all answer to.
Well, that's why some people will say, look, at 70, God can call you any moment. At 70, that integrity ought to be there, not the young people who still probably say, no, they have so much to live for. Also, what do you think about that? That at 70, there should be men of and women of integrity.
I agree absolutely with you. That's why years over years, the country has been extending and increasing the number of years you can stay put as a chief judge or a judge or even a magistrate, is to allow that maturity of age and looking back to say, if I have not made it before today, what else do I need that will make me comfortable? At 70, how many more years do I have to stay? Even if I stay to be 100, what enjoyment is left for me to do with the money? That's why I said Nigeria, not only political class, should be in a position to talk loud and clear, urging, encouraging that these judges have nothing again at stake than their integrity, their honor, and respect for their old age. Because if at the age of 70, you should do what even your grandchildren will look at you and mock you, it's not worth it. There's no money that can buy that. There is no houses given to you in Abuja that can buy that. There are no cars that you can drive at 70 and be comfortable. Because one may even tell that the car is too cold if the AC is on. So I think they should look at it purely from the point of integrity and ignore whatever enticement that anybody will want to throw at them for the purpose of curtailing what is good for Nigerians.
Now, let's go back to Kaduna State, where you come from, and some similar and peculiar areas. You can see that the southern part of Kaduna, or Kaduna State, there appears to be shortage of those who are clamoring to be governors. Everyone will want to know, House of Reps, I'm okay, Senate, oh, I'm okay. Then apply that to even Kogi State. Outside the Galas, outside the Ibiras, you could see that the Kaba, the Yaba, all of those people, they are still on the waiting list. You go to Benue, the Igedes, the Idomas, they are not smelling it to government house, you know. So why is it that many of you are simply rushing to be lawmakers instead of implementing at the level of governor?
Becoming governor is a very serious task. And there are very many variables that must add up to enable you become one. Apart from the pure expectation of numbers, since it's a game of number, the majority will always win. You need things like, particularly Kaduna, you need resources. Because you are talking about 23 local governments, you are talking about 255 wards that you must cover. And in covering them, knowing fully well the kind of politics in this country, you need to also be strong. Most people from southern Kaduna have really not been privileged in such a manner as to making wealth. And you know our culture, you know our training, is to ensure that outside your salary, you desist from any additional cover that will make you go out tomorrow and spend it the way you want. So most of us feel, let us stay close to our tradition and to the God we worship and wait for what may come to us. Not as if we are afraid, because I believe that if Southern Kaduna can put their heads together, there is no reason why we cannot produce a government.
Exactly, because there are times you just see, okay, Ali Madaki is coming on board, Isaiah Ballard is coming on board, Joshua Madaki coming on board, and the whole thing, you just see a gamut of people just struggling over a seat. And at the other end, you just see one person is featured and easily defeated, can easily defeat the divided house.
Yes, that is true. But what gives me the confidence and joy that a Southern Kaduna man can be a governor was that it has happened. Yakubu won, neat and clear. And he won not because of anything, but because he contested an election that was free and fair. We believe too that many other like Yakubu are on their way. It is what they normally say is a matter of time. And the time will soon come. I said so years ago. I predicted that in the next 10 years to come, from 2023 after the last election, and somebody from Southern Kaduna extraction will become the governor. Many people didn't like it, but I saw it coming, and I know it will come, because add up 23 local governments. We have a good, solid control of 13 that you can completely ascribe to as Southern Kaduna or Southern part of Kaduna or Kaduna South, whichever way, but South must be there. You add Kajuru, you add Chukun, you add Kaduna South, you add Lere, and we're good to go. But like I said, the exposure, the resources that we need to further go deep down and reach out sometimes is a militating factor. We're not asking our people to go and steal money from whatever source so they can use a surplus to contest for governor, but we believe that with hard work, understanding, cooperation, instead of fighting, let the 5 enter a room, lock themselves and bring one. If that one comes out with the force supporting him and clapping behind him, the signal will be sent that these people have finally come to accept that togetherness, unity brings progress. And that's why I gave you time. But whatever you conceive to do takes time to gel. In the next 10 years, our thinking cap will have been put and our thinking cycle will have been different. The way we used to look at power will not be the same like in the next 10 years. And we will say, look, than for all of us here to live here empty-handed, it's better for him to get it. If we can do all that we conceive to do. We are sharing notes. If I become governor, this is what I want. You, what will you do? Put it together. Give it to one man. You are now our messenger. Once you do it, come back here and report. We'll be here to listen to you. Where you err from agreement, we'll call it to order. The time is coming. We are not doubting it. We are not saying it will never come to pass. Yes, we have delayed, but of course delay is not denial. And I do know, like I prophesied last year, the next 10 years, you will see somebody from Southern Kaduna.
Well, Jonathan Kish at the point felt he should come out, and he did.
He did. And a very good young man. He made his mark. He was very impressive in his presentation. He didn't lack the intellect. He didn't lack the capacity or the charisma. But he lacked the resources.
Then Asake, Jonathan.
Yes, he lacked the resources. And like I would want to encourage those of us that have the resources. One man in my village, they said, one hand cannot roof a building. So if one is good in our midst and few others have the capacity, the capital, why not put your capital to the same basket and give it to this man? So that he's doing it for us, not for himself. And if that happens to him, he will never come and say, I. He will say, we. Because plural, 4 people added their resources to make you become governor. And that's where you perform a lot better because you are doing so in trust.
Now, last week I saw a disturbing trend, do I call it, where some, virtually the first time in Southern Kaduna, that followers of different political parties or members will clash. And you could see that some people, their dresses were torn, some people got injured. And this is a strange development in Southern Kaduna, isn't it?
Very strange. I was very disappointed. I was saddened that we have allowed that brotherhood that used to exist within the political class to degenerate. I saw a picture that was an eyesore. I have never seen it before. Now that this kind of trend is rearing its ugly head in our zone, it calls for very serious concern. And the few people I call on phone, you say, look, the fault cannot be the followers. The fault must be we, the leaders. We will sit down and educate our members not to do this. They will not. Because in our own rank as leaders, we don't fight. No matter what we do, we end up leaving the room, shaking hands, and that should translate down to our followers. That politics is not the war. Election is not the war. Election is just an avenue for you to choose who you like. And anybody who has a different opinion should be allowed to express it without recourse to damage your life and the property.
Yeah. Now, let's look at this cross-carpeting, or you just move from a party to another, and all you get is you can find 3 people, 4 people being promised 1 seat. What about having 5 people? They say, oh, His Excellency said you'll be senator. B goes, you'll be senator. C, D, F, everybody goes the same senator. Or they say, oh, you're going to be going to be vice president, deputy governor. That kind of a promise. But my concern, my issue is in terms of they call sharing portfolios. If we do come together, just like you said, you join in, you are with ADC, you work for the party, and when it's realized, you begin to talk of, why don't I have this, or why don't that person get this and that and that? Why is it not done before the election? Okay, after election, it's been won. Now portfolios are being shared. You just see that some people are being skimmed out, even when they spend so much. Also, why is it that in the case of Southern Kaduna, you don't sit down to share portfolios before elections?
That has been the sad part of our politicking. I remember very vividly, we successfully did that under McCarthy. We had a committee of 45 wise men and women across the state. And before McCarthy's second term attempt, we sat down to decide. And in that meeting, it was clear, let's cannot be divided into A and B, South and North. And that whatever comes to Canada will be tabled between 1 and 2. And at that time, successfully, we had almost a balanced sharing of portfolio. If they have the governor, we were sure of having the deputy or vice versa, and the minister added to it. If they have the SSG, we will be sure of having the head of service. Of recent, the trend has not happened. And that's why some of us, after 3 years, felt, if this government will not listen to us, will not sit down with us on the conference table to dialogue, then there'll be no point just walking, clapping, and the other man up there is taking the dividends and the benefits. We have about 36 federal appointments. The one local government in Nazaria has 20-something. When we shouted and agitated for fairness, 3 others came last week. The 3 went to one local government. Again, Zaria. So why will I be, like they say, monkey is walking and baboon is chopping? So that cannot just be a place for the baboon to keep walking. It should be a place for both baboon and monkey to sit down after walking. We share the spoil. Unfortunately, the APC does not have the liver to share the spoils.
Now, there's this new cliche, data boys, data girls. Just give them some data, and they begin to attack political opponents. And the political opponents, are also not cautioning them. Don't you see that it's going to be a kind of a doom when people are just reasonable people in society? Stakeholders are always being rubbished by the very young data boys.
Honestly, the data boy phenomenon is spiraling out of order. But of course, it's an era of social media that anybody can sit in the comfort of his room and post whatever thing he wants to do. I remember in the house then, we thought there should be some measure of control on what goes out through your handle. Unfortunately, that didn't work. And today, there's total liberty for anybody to write anything about anybody without verification, which is terribly bad. But my main worry is that that is coming too close for comfort in Southern Kaduna. For days, at times, I deliberately do not go to my Facebook because the kind of attack we allowed these boys to do on ourselves is supposed to be on cuff. It's not in our tradition for elders to be so insulted and be laid bare, naked, in the public domain, in the public eye. So, like I said earlier, it is still bound and duty bound on us. The data money comes from us. If I give you today and you use my data money to write so bad a thing about my brother, tomorrow I will deny you. And I would, like we said, the integrity should be number one than the money. If I lose my election because I have called my boys to order not to do the bad thing, I will take it in good faith. But if I will spend my money believing I will get power by allowing or sponsoring people to insult my very dear brother, what happens tomorrow? If all of us are no longer in power, do we meet and still continue with the data boys? The answer is no. So we must be in a position to talk to them. We must go back to our churches and mosques, talk to our reverends, talk to our traditional rulers, let them call our younger ones to order. We didn't grow up like this. We never insulted our elders because we thought old age was a blessing of God, and that if you respect an older person, you are working towards your blessing.
Now, let's put a pause here. So let's give them some words as we go on break.
Crime is changing, so is the next generation changing. The next generation brings you real voices and real action and real stories. Stay alert, stay informed, and stay empowered with the next generation. Across our streets and communities, young Nigerians are taking a stand, using innovation, awareness, and unity to build a safer tomorrow. Witness young leaders, innovators, and change makers as they step into the spotlights. From community projects to breakthrough ideas. See the passion, the struggle, and the success. From neighborhood patrol to digital safety, we spotlight the youth shaping a more secured nation. Coming to you soon on Third Eye TV.
Welcome back. And our guest has been Honorable Godfrey Ali Gaiya, a geologist. I forgot to tell her to say that. And by the way, you've been sinking boreholes here and there. And a former member of PDP, former member of APC. Now he is with the ADC. And of course, we've been discussing democracy, looking at Southern Kaduna, Nigeria in general. But let's also go into real party politicking again. Before coming here, you were surely with Honorable Rotimi Amechi, former governor, former speaker, former minister, presidential aspirant twice. So, what was it that you people were discussing?
My body is called ADC Federal Legislators Forum. It's a body encompassing former reps, former senators, and even the serving who are ADC card-carrying members. The ADC, as the party that Nigerians like and love, are facing challenges, not by our own making, but by the government in power. And we felt we must come together to kind of also be an advocacy group to cushioning all the attacks that may come from the ruling party. And we had a press conference last week that we spoke clearly and loudly about certain pronouncements of very highly placed persons in the present government, encouraging stooges within our party to scatter, as it were, the party. So we advocate, then we also double it up by meeting our leaders who are up there for us to also voicing out what we hear from the man on the street that will vote for ADC. We encourage them as our leaders to see that the ambition, even though everybody are free to have one, but that the ambition should not scuttle the yearning of every Nigerian to have a change from the president and the government. We tell them, whatever you feel as a person, talk to your brother. In fact, today, we told Amechi, like we told Atiku, like we told Kwankwaso, like we told Lai Lemoke. These are the people we have visited so far. That look, let Nigeria interest be number one. Our leaders, as our leaders, we want to hear one day that you have sat down in one single room and that you have brought the name of this person. If that happens, we'll go out there and clap, and Nigerians will know that we have leadership that puts Nigeria first before self. So that's why I want to say Amechi, because it was next on our line of those to visit. On Sunday we saw Kwankwaso, yesterday we saw Lai Lemoke, the other day we saw Atiku, and we will see all the leaders of the coalition, the ADC. Our message to them is save Nigeria masses from the trauma we find ourselves under this regime. Let you people come out with person that can push this man off the stool so that Nigeria can have a new lease of life and Nigeria can again live a better life.
Now, when you said you've met with Amechi, Lai Lemoke, and a host of others, yes, there was a time Peter Obi also went to see John Odige Oyegu, former governor of Edo State, former chairman of APC, and haven't spoken. They were even attacked there. So Peter Obi left. Then the next thing was John Odige Oyegu say, "Oh, Amechi is their candidate in the Niger Delta area." So one is taken aback when it comes to the politicking of this nature. You hosted somebody, you were all under attack, and suddenly you announce another person. Is that not a sign that ADC is also heading for the rocks again? What they faced in other parties, PDP, AD, Labour, and all that?
Pa Odige Oyegu is an elder of repute, a very experienced politician, and a father to all of us. Most of us look up to him for his counseling and for his words of wisdom. So all of them, including the middle cadre like us, before the masses that will be the final determinant of who becomes what, should go to him for advice. Peter Obi's visit is expected. He has gone to exchange ideas. He has gone to also look for his blessings. If at the end of his coming to see Oyegu, Oyegu comes out with a different opinion, it does not invalidate the visit of Obi. And in fact, who can tell what they discussed in privacy before the utterance of Oyegu? It's possible that what he now made public was maybe one of the areas they sat there in private to discuss. And you may not expect Obi now to go out and say the discussion with an elder. An elder's words is final as an authority. And in any case, if I hear Oyegu very well, he said for the Niger Delta. Peter Obi is from the southeast. So if Ebozo will sit down and make a pronouncement as to whom they think is the champion of the region, those some champions can meet in the room and say, okay, we have reduced the number by region to having 6 by region. So that if the 6 sit down and say, okay, this is the person we want, I think Oyegu wouldn't have been at fault at all. And because he was particular about in the Niger Delta region. The other person is for the southeast region. Okay. Gaiya and for the northwest region.
Okay. now let us still look at this issue of zoning, the zoning formula. Recall that 2023, it was something that divided PDP. At the point, some said, oh, look, PDP was already in a coffin, and that coffin was waiting for the final nail to be nailed, kind of, but it appears to be resurrecting. But the issue of zoning still remains key. Will Atiku simply say, oh, look, let it still be to the south, or he will stick to his guns I remain an aspirant and I'll be the candidate and I'll come from the north. I mean, what's the heartbeat? What's the thinking of Atiku in all of this?
Atiku is a very committed Democrat. I remember he mentioned something to us the day we visited him. Yes, people called me a champion of the coalition. He said, I'm not. I see myself as a fighter for democracy. If the coalition will be a platform for us to get democracy enshrined on proper footing, so be it. But first and foremost, I don't have a personal ambition that will scuttle the democracy from thriving. So if at the end of the day, it is not me, of course I will support whoever that the coalition puts forward. And it was in the same spirit that they went to Ibadan. And they said, we are going to present one candidate to fly the banner for all opposition parties. That too is a clear message that there is nowhere or there is no situation that Atiku has positioned himself as it is a do or must die kind of a thing. Of course, like I said, interest is interest. If today, for example, the coalition decides that this is the person that we want, then it is the decision of the coalition. If there are 9 of them and the 8 surrender to one person as a leader or the flag bearer, so be it. But as a person, and from the interaction we've had with him, there had been no clear-cut signal to show that he's hell-bent, that if it is not him, then the coalition can scatter. Never.
Okay. Nigerians are trying to look at their political periscope, look at the crystal ball, to see the political architecture of ADC. Permutations, they say, okay, let's have Obi Kwankwaso ticket. They say, oh, Kwankwaso is saying, look, he's more experienced than Obi. We keep hearing all of this. Okay, now let us have Obi, Kwankwaso, Atiku. How Atiku is, look, he's the father of them all, and all that stuff. Can the North agree to deputize, to be deputy governor for the South? And if you also look at the zoning formula, if APC wins, for example, the North is waiting to have a shot. Now, if ADC given to the South, they win, they want to have 2. Would they not be ready to keep watching and marking time for that turn to come?
Yeah, the permutation is crystal clear. The North, as it is, has, like you said, Kwankwaso, Atiku, El-Rufai. I've been told that there's a Hayatuddin coming forth now from Kano. So let's imagine.
Not forgetting the former governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambua.
Let's assume that we have about 5 from the North. And let's assume to have about another 4 or 5 from the South. A time will come where this broad divide will sit down on the table. The principle of leadership in Nigeria is that if the South has its own turn for a certain number of years, the power shall rotate to the North for a certain number of years. True tenure is 8 years. In the affairs of men, there's always God. When we set aside that Yar'Adua was to go and do 8 years, it was not man that changed that arrangement. God called Yar'Adua to rest. And since the constitution is clear about who succeeds when the former is gone, you cannot stop it. The South took over through Goodluck Jonathan. Naturally, he served the remaining part of Yar'Adua's tenure. That was completely what is supposed to have been the man-made arrangement of North and South. Lucky enough, it has gone back to the south after Buhari's 8 years. Fine. We're talking about APC versus a coalition of ADC. Now, if the APC has presented a very bad candidate on whose account, on everybody's account, is not doing well for Nigeria, the ADC has every reason to come with an alternative. But in so doing, we must and we are sensitive to the fact that a southerner is on that seat. The North now coming to say we're taking over from APC and we're bringing a northerner. The theory, the thinking, the imagination of an average Nigerian will not totally agree. We're aware of that. And if we now take it to the South, and the South will say, okay, it's a new person, he has 8 years, that too will not properly be accepted by the psyche of a Nigerian. So there is a balance between either we allow a southerner to do one tenure and it goes back to the North for the remaining 2 tenures. That's what we're working on. Because there's a positive here, there's a positive there. There's what to correct here, there's what to correct here. But we are doing all humanly possible not to allow the average Nigerian, not seated like we are privileged to sit on the table to discuss, not to be seen as not carried along. So we have 4 years. Can we get a southerner that can finish 4 years and thereafter the power goes back to the North for another 8 years? We're working on it, and I tell you, what is clean, what is for the people's wish, because even the Bible tells me, where 2 or 3 agree here, the heavens are whole. So we will agree very soon. Thank God we have less than 30 days for the names to be submitted. So the highest level we can wait is 30 days from today, and we'll get that one person. And I can assure you, it's from the South, the tenure will be 1.
Now, there's this game by children, see, so, see, so. That is the game the political parties are doing today. Each is waiting to see which one will go for convention.
Yes.
Offend others, pull the star for those who are offended.
Yes.
And therefore, the seesaw game is there. Who fires the first shot? Who will take the courage? And therefore, so is ADC worried over all of this?
We are certainly not worried. If we were able to get our ruling last week, by now our flag bearers will have been everywhere. We are organized. We are sure we know what we want. We know who will do it for us. We are not like the other party that is thinking about imposing. The affair is, if I bring person not accepted by the people, there will be a very serious implosion. So the fear is not from us. The fear is from them.
But you have power. More of the aspirants.
Yes.
And with APC, for example, outside Asuwaju, we've not heard of anybody having aspirations. But with ADC, the Leo Lemokes are there.
Yes.
Aminu Tambuas are there. You still have Atiku, Peter Obi, Amechi. Just count. The list goes on and on and on. And so, this seesaw game, don't you think there will be more implosions in ADC than in APC?
That's why the APC has succeeded in killing democracy. Because out there are more than 1,001 that also want to become president. But they're looking at the monster seated, and they dare not, I repeat, show a little interest for fear of what will come of them. But the ADC is free. It's an open field. It's an open Buddha. Whoever that wants to read can read. Let the more, to us, the merrier. Let people come. The coming of more people is an index to show how people love the party. And at the end, I have assured you, we are coming out clean with one person. And that clean one person will not cause any bad feeling from the generality of the people. But here, if you bring somebody that will remove Ashewaju as an APC flag bearer,